Hi, I'm going to start a video blog today about pain points. Now, pain points are usually associated with mental models or tasks or some analyzed procedure or process. However, if you think about it abstractly, pain points can be associated with, well, pretty much everything in fucking real day life. Now, what the typical person does is they react to these pain points, which is common and called for, societally speaking. Now, what we all fail to do, typically, is act upon these pain points in a manner of analyzing, pondering, hypothesizing, and deconstruction and reconstruction for an improved, optimized, if not so, satisfied, because we are dealing with typically the lowest common denominator from our viewpoint, and that's where we have to keep it in pop mass culture. Now, in a manner of terms, this means considering ourselves elitist from the common, but yet another way to put it would be entrepreneurial. Is that not so? I'll tell you up front a great mystic secret that few grasp onto, and that is, to keep the brain plastic, one must continue learning. For if not so, we become jaded and set in our ways. And this, my friends, is called the quick death. The death of thought equals the death of new thought, and no new thought means stuck in the old patterns of automatic negative emotions, in circles and loops in those abysses in which we rarely crawl out of. Now, what I'll be pursuing in these next however many chapters will be to communicate my frustrations with our society, the world in which we live, humanity, technology, psychology, we'll go there, and sexology, I suppose, because I do have a beef with that. That I typically keep to myself because I don't want people to get the wrong idea and personalize things completely to my life that I may talk about, because there is a line between what is appropriate disclosure and inappropriate disclosure. Now, if we keep this on a purely academic level, it could be sold for porn, which would be exponentially more niche market profit, but at the same time, I don't plan to be showing full cleavage shots, so we'll make of it what we will. These are my breasts. Usually this is about the point at which people get diverted to the attention anyway, so let me see if I can get a good angle shot. About now in the conversation, you would have forgotten where I was and what I was talking about and started focusing on my breast. They are large, significantly compared to others, but at the same time, half the population has them. I feel like I look like crap half the other time, washed up mainly. I need to fix my hair more often, but it's like, this is what it looks like when I wash it, greasy and frizzy. And you'll notice I sway from having either a terribly low self-esteem, which comes out in my super perfectionist, overcritical view of myself, but at the same time you'll notice tinges of solipsism and psychopathology in my lack of caring rationally according to the DSM-4 or regarding other people's wishes and feelings in comparison to the level of magnitude of self-interest in my own feelings and wishes, and who should indeed in fact win out in those subjective situations. Now, with subjectivity and objectivity, I think we parallel, domain-wise and ontology speaking, depending on who the subject and object is, of course, into a parallel dimension of, well, I lost myself. Subjective and objective equals absolute and relative power. So in an objective setting, where all of the power of construct, platonically speaking, really platonically speaking, of the ideal situation or nature of something is predefined, predetermined, omnisciently known by a higher presence creator of the clock, so to speak, in some Roman writer's metaphor, Lucretius maybe, de Rerum Natura, on the order of things, and he did use the watch in the woods metaphor or example or parable, where he described a time where a man stumbled upon a watch that he found in the woods, and by this mere right of fact, I'm sure it takes 3 points of fact to triangulate a truth, I believe I was told by an ex-CIA agent who tells me odd things in creepy times in a minivan, told me that you have to have 3 points to verify truth. However, sometimes you just have to go with your gut. That's the key to manipulating life in magic and brain change willed, is really going with that gut. And it's not just a quick split-minute decision where you say and you don't follow through with the assumption and belief that you are going to guide yourself on a new path in life, which begins from within. I'm sorry, guys, you're not going to have Jesus knock on your door. You have to invite him into your heart. Now, after you've become a Christian, or whatever you become, chaos magician, Sufi is a good one, Bruce Lee, definitely be like water, my friend, that's all I have to say, and a little bit of Umberto Eco, because I really do have a huge mental crush on him, because he is so intellectually perverse in the way that he combines semantics, relics, church conspiracy theories, and beautiful Italian vistas in such a aristocratic way. He's above me. If I were to read one of his Cotton the Platypus books, I swear to God, I have a copy somewhere that I stole from Jamie Green in college. Thanks, Jamie. And in it, I have notated and annotated and drawn all over about the first 8 to 10 pages, because half of the pages are footnotes of works cited, sources that you have to go to be able to translate his bullshit French phrases into things that he uses to be an elitist pig and to show his mental superiority, because he makes us do the work for ourselves. Now, this is typically found to be okay in college, where that's expected of you, but if you're trying to read semantical works for leisure, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, because you either have to go through the process of joining a digital library and hoping that they carry such random elitist stuff, which I do love, but it's rarely found, so I end up having to pay for the whole experience. Thank you, Umberto Eco, for setting us up. No, really, I do love semantics, so we will divulge there some, and I play music, although not in public most of the time, so I'm trying to break out of my introverted spectrum of INTP and into the world of at least ENTP, if not ENTJ, because I would love to start really judging people on the outside and letting them know it, so that it's not just in my head, but maybe they can act upon it in a positive way, or at least get out of my life. Because this is truly how I feel. Everything is a checks and balances, an accounting sheet, so to speak. Thank you, accounting professor. of debits and credits against whatever is important to you, be it facets of your person, valuables, family, loved ones, or your soul. Everything is a give and take. Every piece of communication and media and experience we have really with someone other than ourselves. Now that's the key. You don't have to be in a state of give and take to commune with only yourself. That, my friend, is how you meditate and reach neutrality, is you cut off all external sources of pain and pleasure, and then, by mystic enlightenment and self-awareness of the cosmic principles, which are there to guide us and help us reach that inner light and higher state of consciousness, if we just go stare at fractal patterns on YouTube for a while, set to trance music, I believe one was called Electric Sheep or Awake, that was great. It takes these things to tear down and rebuild our sense of selves and our psyche and our reality to a degree, to conceive of new ideas that go against our basic, pre-programmed, reactional norms of behavior. So, simply put, you either get stuck in your old ways or you move on. I prefer to move on. I get uncomfortable with stagnancy versus most people being uncomfortable with change. Now, I've had a nomadic life, so to speak, since I got out of high school, really, and I've moved about 2 to 3 times every 5 years, maybe. Or what I meant to say was I stay in one place for about 2 to 3 years, lucky if I keep my job that long, and change houses, states, and boyfriends all within about the same month usually. Things do come in threes. That is a truth, universally, if you just accept it and look for it. Now, the reason being things possibly come in threes, this is a hypothesis, mind you, is that the first time, it's like, kind of like the saying goes, fool me once, shame on me, or shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Right? What they don't tell you is if the fools come around together in the third time, and then shit goes down, whoever doesn't get fooled is usually convicted of a felony of attempted murder or harm done upon another being, which again is in turn called psychopathic. However, what little people know, there's a great book out called The Psychopath Test, written by the same guy that wrote The Men Who Stare at Goats. And in this psychopath test, there's a series of questions that are asked psychopaths, and depending on how you answer to a certain number of them, you get a kind of grade level of what type and strength of psychopath you are, how many of the characteristics you entail. Now, what they also put as intriguing information in this psychopathology book is that there is an extremely high correlation of psychopaths to CEOs and those who lead most of our governments and major corporations. Now, we all get the impression when we watch the news or hear of celebrity talk and pretty much mass culture that these people are important indeed in our lives. And this is mainly because we choose to take the time to listen about their obnoxious bullshit crap. I myself choose not to watch the news because I am myself a egotistical piece of beauty when it comes to how I think about myself and how I compare to others. Now, what is the secret is I keep this deep down usually, and I do not tell people nearly enough of an interpretation of how evil I fantasize about their non-existence in my life. Not that I say I'm trying to kill them necessarily, because that would be admitting intent, and that's definitely something you never want to do, especially out loud. Keep intent in your heads, kids. Do not publicize your plans or document in any shape or form, in any medium, your intent to do a criminal activity. That is rule number 1 of don't get caught. Now, number 2 is don't be a rat or a thief, okay? Keep your enemies closer and your friends close, because so-called friends can be pieces of shit that take advantage of you unless you always practice a habit of saying no. Now, this is a lesson I had to learn the hard way, that of saying no. If you can't tell, I am a very extremely nice person. I do fairly well for myself, enough so that it is noticed by my deadbeat friends. Not calling anybody out, because I do love you guys, else I wouldn't keep you around. But you do put a hurting on my tolerance level sometimes of what's asked of me and expected of me, because you know the alternative of me helping you out, giving you stuff or money, is obviously putting a burden on me. That's me not being able to enjoy the fruits of my labor. And when I say labor, I am not fucking talking about flipping burgers or being nice to people or even making sense of them. But really, I have to create new worlds of thought and a language of how we use the internet and act online in an attempt to provide the optimal experience of these virtual created mental models of your life while you're at Capital One or Best Buy or AOL or GE or HP or Washington Post. I'm just trying to give you not a flattery list, but the types of environments where I've been forced by nature and possibilities and finances to come up with ideas of how to enhance these products in a way for the benefit of the user and the business. Now, mark you, this job of being a user experience designer is supposed to be the champion of the user behavior and experience, and we design what is good for the other. We are the altruists of the internet world. We keep the peace between subconscious business corruption and the man trying to pull the curtain over the user, the consumer, us, the little people, and what really does fly as good design, in our opinion, versus, little old us who have dedicated our lives to fighting those pain points of the world and the task and people in which we encounter and what we have to do to get something done. The whole systematic processes of our interaction with data and information and knowledge and expectations of what we're providing in return, and the cause and effect, the exchange of experience and conversation that we have to mold on our side, predicting the answer states and environments of the opposite person. That's a big presumptive gap you have to fill. Now, the best way, how can you predict what people are going to do online if they're searching for a product on Amazon or trying to stalk someone on Facebook and not appear creepy? Now, we can talk about the benefits and pros and cons and potential improvements we should all write in about and petition on as far as how experiences can be improved upon on some of these huge behemoth networks that take up most of our internet traffic. I can definitely show screenshots and graphs that I've collected over the last couple years worth of my research on internet behavior and how people work with analyzing, which I do, this personal data. It's not confidential data, mind you, most of the time, but personal data, like your usage statistics and your click paths and your heat map patterns. Now, these are all things, if I get any feedback, which I hope I do, positive or negative, everything is built upon, and I know my hair is terrible today. I'm trying to fix it. Anyhow, back to what I was talking about, and not my looks yet this morning, because I really look shitty, but I do hope you find some value or worth in what I've been saying. Oops. About my life. So, I will provide you just my personal opinions and facts and references about what we are currently going through from an information inundation perspective, really, as far as how technology is influencing our life without us knowing it. Sometimes just even from the design of the device you have in your pocket for your phone, things from like, what do multimodal buttons do to our brain, or things like why does hot or not force me to choose not to send Facebook friend requests to people that I'm rating photos on hot or not. I'm not trying to make friends with everybody I find attractive, because that makes me feel easy. Now, so we need to talk about this, and maybe I should try to bring people in to interview as far as some of these pain point topics go, and why they haven't fixed these things for them, for the user. I'd love to make money off of tearing apart people's websites and giving them hell for the awful experiences they provide, as a heuristic analysis, really. That's where you specifically have a deliverable provided for things you review on a website from a certain amount of criteria, ranging from their experience, engagement factors, 5-minute second test, focus Soliloquy, GOMS analysis, what else, mental model creation, and the 3 tenets of IA as far as being concerned with topic, task, and audience analysis breakdown of how to organize or divide up content in a website, and try doing all 3, including geographic, and still have it make sense to the user. If you send in submissions of that to me, I will give you a free, if you're the top first 10, or afterwards a 30%, 45% off discounted price of a thorough heuristic evaluation, and I can provide sample white papers if the interest is there for how these things can be used, built, and profitable from a competitive advantage perspective analysis. Competitive benchmarking is really what it's called if you want to Google that. And what we do is give you both a internal look at yourselves and your improvements that are available, but also we look at where you stand within the realm of ranking in the user market as far as the gut reaction, which is really all that matters, of people after they've gone through their first user experience with your product or feature or presence digitally. Now, I say digitally because this is no longer a concern of just flat screen or cell phone or tablet even. We are moving beyond that to truly an ubiquitous computer-human interaction. We have, obviously game stations and consoles, but we also have emerging technologies that we've kind of had around in sci-fi for a couple decades, but in reality it is finally coming to the consumer market soon. Things such as Oculus Rift, which my boss at Capital One, I have to give him a shout out, won't name names, So, anyhow, he told me that I could expense an Oculus Rift at work, and I work at a bank. And but he didn't say only, but he said it would be helpful if I provided a business justification. So I will. Sorry about the finger in the movie. I'm working, this is my first cut. So I figured that the information could be of interest to some. So why not get out what's in my head to the general public, see how long I can actually talk about myself to myself, get the comments of what do people think I'm on, which drugs is Jenny taking, or is she not? Is that the problem instead? Whatever feedback, like I said, you want to provide will be welcome, scolded possibly, replied to very possibly, and possibly featured and built upon in a next session. Also, if you do want to discuss your mores and views on new culture, media breakdowns, technology, how close to the apocalypse we are, the Illuminati, or I don't know, gypsies. I'd love to learn some more gypsy slang and magic spells. Sharo Shokar will get rid of your headache if you say it 9 times in a row. And you have to count it kind of, and you end up on this finger. So for all of you out there who want to know possibly your first gypsy spell, the only one I know at the moment, but I'll find my book. It's Sharo Shokar, I believe is how you pronounce it. Just write it out and say it however it feels right. Sharo Shokar, 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 Sharo Shokar. I throw in one more just for good luck, right? Just in case one of the times it didn't come out right. Anyhow, enough about me. I would love to know more about you. So I have a couple of questions I'm going to ask, and if you'd like to send in submission answers, musical mime dance, or interpretation of some response to these lifelong questions I've had, do proceed. I would love to start communicating with the outside world and not just have my automatic negative thoughts of what I expect from people and their intelligence and IQ. Again, not to burst my own bubble or promote my bubble or whatever the fuck you do with them, but just quoting reality. People often tell me or respond to me as me being, smart or brilliant or all of the above, and I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Does that make me feel better about myself, or does that make me happier? That's a completely unexpected response I get from people just from being my low self-esteemed, superiority complex, switching self. And I only feel like it's because sometimes that I have a big vocabulary, and people aren't used to using more than 200 words on average a day. Now, the reason I have this vocabulary, I simply say, is because I'm book smart, meaning I still read. I would rather read half the time than interact with actual people. And I think this is, I don't know, it's just a trait I have. And there's a lot of information that is never going to be transferable in this type of setting that is available in written book, because you are truly associating me, this persona, this physical perception, with these ideas. And you may or may not be paying attention because of pre-programmed stereotypical assumptions and values that you have about fucking shallow physical appearances or whatever distracts you or not from the topic at hand and your value system. And really what it boils down to is how much new information are you willing to take in. That in truth will form and reform your character at the base level. How flexible are you? How much are you passionate about flow? And as we said before, being like water. This means not only being able to switch on a regular, as needed, instinctive, reflexive basis, your cause and intent and the order in which things are perceived, but acknowledging the fact that there are correlations and sometimes causations between completely seemingly different points of view or world beliefs or systems of power, but there are some cosmic principles and there are some basic rules and tenets of different ways of thought. Now, I've dabbled in some. I'm not much of a practitioner, but I am an outside observer and researcher mainly so far as to how these things proceed and go about their work. One of the ones that sticks in my head often, and I tell myself, is Aleister Crowley's saying of do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. And there was a second part to that that I need to remember. I'm out of cigarettes. But again, do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. And brain changed willed is magic. That's all it is. And I saw the other day on YouTube that another secret of this magical thought of intent and desire turning into your reality, because really that's all we have is our own, and our perceived notions of life and happiness are enhanced if you focus your intent on the desire and goal. You have to have a goal in mind and a plan. Mainly a goal, though, that you believe will happen if you concentrate and think for 17 seconds about an outcome or will or desire of what you'd like to see happen in your life. Now, I know this sounds like a bunch of bullshit, mumbo-jumbo, either magical bullshit or stuff you get in a Tim Robbins, or whatever the hell his name is, self-help CD, but 17 seconds. That's supposedly all it takes. Now, I tried it once, maybe yesterday, after I read it, and I just focused a concept of I love a certain person into the ether and for 17 seconds, and maybe that's how long it takes for it to generate enough electrical energy for the aliens who are probably watching us from either above or below the earth. Maybe that's 17 seconds is how long it takes to transmit to some higher being, or like knock on his door long enough to get his attention. I don't know, maybe it's like the length of the cell phone call, astral projectorally or fractal wise, however you want to look at it. Maybe that's how long it takes to just break into the attuned will of the earth and penetrate the veil, perhaps. It's